Back. Thanks for joining us. Back talking Nets Bucks. Giannis and Milwaukee dominated last night, Game 6. Greek Freak tacked the rim, finished with 30 points, 17 rebounds. Bucks led from start to finish to win and force a Game 7 tomorrow night in Brooklyn. Nick, what do you think's on the line for Giannis tomorrow?
Oh, not much, just everything. Just his coach's job, some of the front office guys, and how he's looked at as a player. And I want to talk about Giannis as a player here. Because it is, we sometimes swing the pendulum too far, and after Game 5, it swung too far against. And it speaks to how good he is that last night he had 30 points and 17 rebounds in a must-win game on 60% shooting, and I don't think anyone thinks he played great. They're like, oh yeah, Giannis played very well. Played pretty good. He had 30 and 17 in the biggest game of his career. And we're like, yeah, that's about what we thought he would do. But it wasn't, a signature moment. But here is what Giannis can gain with a victory on Saturday. Because you look at the East, Philly is down in the series, limping literally and metaphorically. And with respect to the Hawks, I don't think anybody thinks the Hawks can match up with Milwaukee's size. And out west, who knows what the hell's going to happen? Is Kawhi done for the year? Is he going to be back in a couple days? Is Utah going to win? What's going on with Chris Paul and the COVID protocol? Milwaukee, if they win Saturday, I think you could credibly say become the favorites to win the championship. And Wilds, there are a lot of great players who en route to their first championship, their toughest test was not the championship. For Michael, it was Detroit. They beat him a bunch of times and then finally dispatched them, and then the finals was a walkover against Portland. For Shaq and Kobe, it was Portland. It was that 7-game war against Portland for their first title, and then it was a walkover in the finals. For LeBron, it wasn't the Thunder, who they beat in 5. It was Boston, who they were down 3-2 against, and then LeBron played the finest game of his career and then a damn good Game 7. So for Giannis, if you win Saturday and it's like, oh, you beat the defending Eastern Conference champions who had annihilated you last year in round 1. You then took KD's best shot, Harden came back, and you beat them in round 2. Maybe you play Embiid, maybe you play Trae Young in round 3. There is all of that there for the taking. And then Brandon, if they lose, he's going to be on almost assuredly another new head coach. They're going to try to retweak the roster, and they're going to say, we hope next year's different. So everything's on the line for him.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, Nick. Them moving forward, them advancing, for me, won't be respected. I mean, you saw who they were in Games 1 and Games 2. When the Nets were semi-loaded, they didn't have James Harden. James Harden played 40 seconds in this series before he came back when he wasn't supposed to. And they got ran off the court. So when you look at that, I can't respect it. And unless we got the Hawks wrong, then I can't even respect that. The Hawks are playing great ball. But nobody picked the Hawks to be a contender this year. So they go on, they beat the Hawks, and then you got Philly. Philly, you got Ben Simmons and Tobias averaging 5 points in the last couple games. I can't respect it. Now here's the deal: what's on the line? The narrative that 2 years ago that you could potentially be the best player. Also, like you said, the coach being fired. That's a big deal. That's tough as a player when you play bad and then all of a sudden you see guys being fired and packing up their stuff, literally packing up their stuff and walking out the building, and you can look at it and say, you know what, maybe if I caught that ball or maybe if I had a couple extra rebounds, he would still be here. So that's a big deal. Giannis don't want to carry that throughout his career, knowing that Bud is a guy that stood on the table for him. They have a great relationship, and he may be fired because of your play. You didn't develop you didn't quickly enough to help your team contend for a championship, because that's what it is. And also the last thing, Wiles, is the fear factor. I don't know if guys fear them anymore. I don't know if anybody fears him. oh, buddy, like we know what you are. You're a 1-2 trick pony, and that's it. So, there's some things that lose, but I don't think it'll be respected if they advance.
Yeah, well, I know people definitely fear the deer, but it is a good point. I don't know if they fear Giannis. It also doesn't rhyme, so it's tough to roll off the tongue. So I think, Nick, his legacy is on the line because you can either be tagged with the winner hat. If you wear the winner hat, all your flaws kind of go away. Like, he's a winner, though. He's a winner. Old Tim Tebow, he gets the job done. He's a winner. It's like, but he can't do this, this, and this. Doesn't matter. The guy's a winner. So Giannis hasn't been able to wear that hat. And until you wear the winner hat or the winner crown, remember he tried to have a little imaginary winner crown, all of your flaws are prominently on display. The lack of outside shooting, the fact that you can't go to him at the end of the games, the fact that you don't really have a post game, the fact that you can't shoot free throws, the fact that you're on the free throw line for too long, that all kind of falls by the wayside. It's like, but you know what? The guy gets it done. The guy wins. So if he wins, we don't have to talk about those flaws. But if he loses, all of those things are going to pop up, and people are going to be like, wow, he's the most incomplete two-time MVP this league has ever seen.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think, to Brandon's point about he won't, in the here and the now, there will be a lot of, fake asterisks attached to a lot of potential champions this year. But over the timeline of history, those fade away. And, the guy who I say is one of the most underrated players of all time, Moses Malone. He's a 3-time MVP who didn't also, by the way, did not have a complete game, was just a physical monster. But he's a champion, was a champion on one of the greatest teams ever alongside Dr. J and Andrew Toney and others. And it's like, oh, there's nothing missing from his resume. And you're essentially, you're free-rolling the rest of your career after that. I also do think that a championship this year, which obviously they have to win Game 7 and then win a couple more rounds, might unlock a freer, better Giannis moving forward because you don't have that added weight and pressure on you. But Wildes, I want to go back to you on something because we all talk about Bud and how Bud's job is on the line. I don't think anyone in the front office is going to be fired in Milwaukee. I want to make that very clear. But if they win, then a lot of this offseason gets papered over. Let's remember, they had Bogdan Bogdanovic, who right now is playing great for a team that is still playing, and they blew it. It got leaked too early. The league stepped in. Now he plays for the Hawks. The other thing that I can't believe more people aren't talking about is this. This offseason, they had to go get a point guard. Chris Paul was there. He went for Oubre, Rubio, and a 1. Now, Chris Paul, I think, preferred Phoenix, and OKC was going to do right by him, but Milwaukee preferred the younger Jrue Holiday. They traded 4 first-round picks, George Hill, and another player, Eric Bledsoe, to get Jrue Holiday. If they lose, you look at it and say, guys, you think you would have lost if you had Chris Paul? Or would you be the overwhelming favorites when we're seeing what Chris Paul's doing? Because it's not like Jrue has been brilliant this postseason. So it is on Giannis to make everybody look better, to make Bud and this look better, to make the front office and an up and down offseason look better. Like, all of this is on Giannis because as great as Middleton is, he's this every time. It's, oh my God. So what's happening? It's like, what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. Give me your.
Listen, you've been
there's a lot of pressure on him.
You've been on Bud for 2 years since I've been on this show. I've been on the show for a year. Yeah. I mean, Kevin, he's been on Bud for a year now since I've been on this show, and probably longer than that. To me, I put more blame on Giannis than Bud. You're a superstar. In the NBA, one guy can impact the entire outcome of a game. In the NFL, you need all 11. You need all 22. You've seen superstars do it before. Hell, we just seen it, Game 5, KD? KD didn't have help from Joe Harris. Now, yeah, Jeff Green stepped up and had a monster game. Right. But you had KD go for 49 points with that type of team, banged up. James Harden out there on one leg, and they win. So when I look at the NBA in situations like this, yes, you got Bud that could have done some different things, change things up. But man, I put more on Giannis than I do Bud, Kev.